The death of Queen Elizabeth will be one of the most disruptive events in Britain in the past 70 years. Queen Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen of this realm and of her other realms and territories, head of the Commonwealth, defender of the faith, is not going to live forever. Since ascending to the throne in 1952, the monarch has seen 13 prime ministers serve Britain and lived through another 13 U.S. presidents. She's now 92. At some point, not for many years yet, we hope, Queen Elizabeth II's reign will come to an end. But what happens then? For at least 12 days, between her passing, the funeral and beyond, Britain will grind to a halt. The chaos will cost the UK economy billions in lost earnings. The stock markets and banks are likely to close. And both the funeral and the subsequent coronation will become formal national holidays, each with an estimated economic hit to gross domestic product of £1.2 billion to £6 billion, $1.6 billion to $7.9 billion, to say nothing of organizational costs. But to focus on the financial disruption doesn't begin to describe the sheer magnitude of the Queen's death. It will be an event unlike anything Britain has seen since the end of World War II. There will be trivial disruptions. The BBC will cancel all comedy shows, for example, and jarring cultural changes. Prince Charles may change his name, and the words of the national anthem will be changed too. The British Commonwealth might even unravel completely. The deaths of Princess Diana and the Queen Mother both brought on waves of public mourning and hysteria. But that of Queen Elizabeth II, due to her longevity and fundamental place atop British society, will be on a whole new level. Most British people have simply never known life without the Queen. It will be a strange, uncertain time. The Queen has been around for a long time, living through the rule of everyone from Adolf Hitler to John F. Kennedy. In the hours after the Queen's death, much will depend on the manner of her passing. If the death is expected, say, from a long illness, then detailed plans will have been put in place for handling and announcing it. These plans are already being made. Inside Buckingham Palace, arrangements for after the Queen's passing and the subsequent succession are known as the bridge. But if the death is sudden or unexpected, the news could get out immediately in an unplanned and uncontrolled fashion. This is what happened when Princess Diana died following a car crash in Paris in 1997. Either way, most staff members at the palace and associated institutions will be immediately sent home. The royal court has a staff hotline for distributing news and instructions to employees in the event of occasions like this. Many of the details in this story were provided to Business Insider by a former staff member of the palace. If the Queen's passing was expected, the news will spread at first via the main TV channels. All BBC channels will stop programming and show the BBC One feed for the announcement. The other independent channels won't be obligated to interrupt their regular programming, but they almost certainly will. According to the Daily Beast, if her death were to happen overnight, it would be announced at 8 a.m. The BBC actively practices for the eventuality of the monarch's passing so it won't be caught unaware. The BBC News anchor Peter Sissons was heavily criticized for wearing a red tie to announce the Queen Mother's passing, and the BBC now keeps black ties and suits at the ready at all times. But this can backfire. BBC presenters run drills in which they're required to make sudden spoof announcements that are never broadcast. In 2015, a BBC journalist who didn't realize a rehearsal was going on tweeted that the Queen had died, on the same day she was visiting a hospital, no less, and the news was subsequently picked up by foreign outlets. A journalist working for the BBC's language services, who had not been sent the email, saw an internal TV monitor which was showing the rehearsal, the BBC Trust said at the time, referring to an email informing staff members about the rehearsal. A number of tweets were sent from her Twitter account. The first stated that the Queen was being treated in hospital, the second stated that the Queen had died. The tweets included a link to BBC World's official Twitter feed. All comedy programs will be cancelled. The last death of a monarch was in 1952, and the BBC stopped all comedy programs for a period of mourning after the announcement. The Daily Mail reports that the BBC plans to do the same when Queen Elizabeth II dies, cancelling all comedy until after the funeral. CNN has pre-recorded packages on the Queen's life ready to be aired at a moment's notice, we're told. And so does every other major news channel. Businesses will close. The London Stock Exchange is likely to close if the announcement happens during working hours, and other businesses may too. The protocols government bodies will follow will emanate from the Department of Culture, Media, and Sport, though they may also originate from the palace. But it's hard to predict how the government will react. The immediate official government response, beyond the expected statements of condolences, will be hard to predict, the former palace employee we spoke to said. The last death of a monarch was in 1952. Procedures that seemed apt then may be woefully antiquated in the 21st century. Mourners wore black armbands to show respect for King George VI, for example. But would similar public displays of mourning be employed today? It's impossible to know until it happens. Flags will fly at half-mast, and Britain will go into shock. Flags will be flown at half-mast until 8 a.m. the day after the funeral, according to guidance from the Greater London Lieutenancy, with the exception of Proclamation Day. More on that shortly. Churches may also toll their bells either on the day of the death or the day after. Whatever happens formally, the shock on the day of the Queen's passing will see Britain effectively cease to function. The day of the funeral, about 2 weeks later, will be declared a bank holiday, but shell-shocked mourning will continue throughout this time. There will be a brief resurrection of the British Empire. Given the Queen's international significance, her death will almost certainly be the top news story across the entire world. It's likely to trend globally on social media. After all, Britain has a massive overseas presence, through its embassies, its former colonies and the Commonwealth, which swears loyalty to the Crown, and, more informally, any country where English is spoken. The British Empire once covered a quarter of the Earth's landmass, and for a brief, surreal period it is likely to feel as if the empire still exists, as all its former subjects will turn toward Britain for the news. It's not clear what will happen at Britain's overseas outposts. A former ambassador we spoke to said that what would happen overseas would depend on the manner of the Queen's passing. If it has long been expected, there will be detailed plans and procedures in place. If it's sudden, overseas posts will look to the Foreign Office for urgent guidance. A few things will definitely happen overseas. Social functions will be cancelled. The Union flag will be flown at half-mast until after the funeral. This will also happen in the UK. Officials will enter a period of mourning and dress appropriately. Condolence books will be prepared for visitors to leave messages. But the ambassador also stressed that there is a lot of uncertainty about what will actually happen. It has been more than 60 years since a monarch died. Society has changed a huge amount in that time. Behind closed doors at the palace, an accession council will convene. Once most staff members are out of the way and the public tourist attractions are closed, an accession council will be held at St. James's Palace to formally declare the successor, Prince Charles, barring any unforeseen circumstances. The accession council will be attended by privy councillors, lords, the Lord Mayor of the City of London, and high commissioners of certain Commonwealth countries, among others. This council is not required, however, to make Queen Elizabeth II's successor official, as Charles will become the monarch from the moment of her passing. There is never not a sovereign on the throne. This is also why the royal standard is never flown at half-mast, unlike the Union flag. And politicians will swear allegiance to the new monarch. Both houses of Parliament will sit, or be recalled if necessary. Members will have the opportunity to take a new oath of allegiance to the new monarch. All members of Parliament must swear allegiance to the present monarch, though some Republican MPs might cross their fingers when making the 500-year-old oath. Members of both houses will also present addresses of condolences and loyalty to the new sovereign, a House of Lords representative told me, in a format that is yet to be determined. After this, both houses will be suspended until after the official state funeral. Charles, or whoever the new monarch is, could change his name. Charles, assuming it is he who ultimately succeeds Queen Elizabeth II, won't necessarily become King Charles. Upon ascending to the throne, royals may pick their regnal name from any of their Christian or middle names. Arthur Bousfield and Gary Toffoli wrote that when Queen Elizabeth II was asked what she wanted her regnal name to be, she said, "My own of course, what else?" But if Charles felt inclined to change, as Charles Philip Arthur George, he could also be King Philip, King Arthur, or King George. No, Prince William is not going to become king. It's also worth discussing the possibility of the crown leapfrogging Charles in favor of his son William, a possibility that has repeatedly been discussed in the media. This would cause a constitutional crisis and definitely will not happen. William himself has said there is no question of it happening. Instead, William will become the new Prince of Wales, Charles' current role. Charles has waited and prepared for this job for his entire life. And his mother's longevity means he's no longer young either. He will be at least 69 when he takes the throne, past the British age of retirement. Impatient? Me? What a thing to suggest. Yes, of course I am, he said in 2012. I'll run out of time soon. I shall have snuffed it if I'm not careful. There may be a new vigil of the princes. When the Queen Mother lay in state for 3 days, her grieving grandsons relieved the official guard to stand guard over the coffin for a short period. It was called the Vigil of the Princes. Something similar happened for King George V. While it's a formal ceremony, it's likely that a similar act of remembrance would be accorded to Queen Elizabeth II. More than 200,000 people paid their respects as the Queen Mother lay in state, and the scale of mourning for the Queen is likely to easily eclipse that. There will be mass public grief, and perhaps even hysteria. Throughout this period, there will be a massive outpouring of public grief. It won't just be somber dress and a minute of silence at sports games, it'll be a punch to the gut of the national psyche. When Princess Diana died, the public turned out in tens of thousands to lay flowers outside Buckingham Palace. By some estimates, as many as 1 million bouquets were left. A memorial appeal raised £20 million. People queued for 10 hours or more to sign memorial books. Though the day of her funeral wasn't a national holiday, one person described it to the BBC as everything closed, saturation TV coverage, no one at work. There were scenes of unbelievable grief, said another, adding, it was as though all of these people had lost someone incredibly dear to them and their emotion was genuine. It worried me hugely, especially after days of mounting hysteria on the streets of Kensington, people walking into the road blinded by tears, etc. People appeared to be losing their grip on reality. The Guardian's Jonathan Freedland wrote that many Britons felt forced to close their shops or cancel sporting events on the day of the funeral, lest they feel the rage of the tear-stained hordes outside. Given the Queen's stature and how intrinsically she is woven into the fabric of modern Britain, there is likely to be even greater public mourning for her passing.